Hi, I'm Emily with Threaded Journey, and today I'm going to be making the Rossi Wrap Dress from the Bold One Pattern Company. I recently made the Freddie version of this pattern and it turned out so good. The Freddie version is the one with sleeves. The Rossi version is sleeveless, and because it's fully lined and sleeveless, it can be a little bit intimidating to sew, but no worries. I'm going to walk you through the entire process step by step. And I'm going to show you a few things that I learned when making that Freddie version that are going to make this sew along even smoother and simpler than the last one. We're going to start out using a scrap piece of fabric, and we're going to cut out the lining. And what we're going to do is we're going to test for that awful back gaping that can happen in a sleeveless top. Look at the customizations and decide which front and back necklines you want to use. I chose to make the standard square front and the high square back. So I cut my pieces out on the fold just to make it less time consuming. I removed that center seam allowance right there, and that allowed me to cut it on the fold. I sewed in my shoulder seams using a longer stitch than I normally would, and I've pressed those open. I also stitched my side seams. I just did that like I regularly would and pressed those open. Now I'm going to try it on. This is going to do two things. It's going to let me know, do I like my neckline? So here's the back. But also it's going to let me know, and this is the most important thing we're looking for, is it going to have a back gap? A lot of sleeveless does on people. This one does on me, and it's pretty bad. Like, I would not feel comfortable wearing that with a nice dress. That doesn't look very good. So here's how we're going to fix that. I'm going to take my clip. This is easier if you have a friend, a spouse, anybody. Even a child could probably help you. Okay, and I'm going to pull this up at my shoulder right here till where it's pretty smooth. And then I'm going to take my clip and try to clip it as close to my skin as I can. Or if it's really big, maybe mark it with a pin, something like that. But I need to measure what that pinch was that I made. My pinch was about 1 inch total. I've unstitched just kind of somewhere close, not completely, and measure 1 inch down, which is going to be right here. And I'm going to just kind of make a triangle here. So I've pinned right there on that new blue line, and I'm going to make a new stitch right there. Okay, now let's look at it and see if it looks better. So it looks the same in the front, even though one shoulder seam is a little different than the other. And now I have less back gaping. I could adjust that even more and do just a smidge more, or I can leave it as is. I'll probably adjust it just a little bit more. But all I did was take out a little bit of extra fabric here. It did nothing under the arms. The neckline still looks the same. The neck in the back is going to look the same because I didn't come all the way and change right here. I only changed this part. This might let you see it visually. I'm just putting that on top of my pattern. This is the part that fits around here. I am coming down my 1 inch and then just kind of drawing a triangle line up to somewhere just a little bit outside the seam allowance. And that's going to be my new shoulder cut line. And that'll leave my seam allowance the same to be able to match all of that up. It'll just change and take out the gap right there. That was on my facing piece. I also have to make the exact same change to my main piece. So what I'm going to do is just put these together at the same mark and just draw that line. There we go. And now my facing and my main piece match. When I finished the Freddie version, I did debate on whether or not I wanted to make the Rossi shorter. I pinned it up 14 inches to knee length, and that's what it looks like here. It's super cute, but I have old knees. They don't look very good. So I repinned it up at 7 inches, and that kind of made it mid-calf, and it's pretty cute there. But ultimately, I've decided to just go with leaving it the maxi length. I am 5'4", and I made the maxi length for the height 161 to 170 centimeters. My pattern pieces are now ready. I have my side front, my side back, and my side back and front, I tapered them down from a 10 to the 8. My original dress was an 8. It was just a smidge tight in the top, and I felt like it would look too small being sleeveless. So I changed the top, but I left the bottom an 8. So I just made a little bit of a additional seam allowance right here and just curve that in. Center back main, cut to the right neckline, center front main. Changing those to a size 10 did not really change anything too much, so those went together pretty nicely. Front and back facings, and the extra removed from the back facing pieces, as well as the center back main piece. My pocket bag, and my waist strap. For my Freddie Wrap dress, I did all of the things exactly like the instructions said for the waist wrap wing. You're supposed to cut out waist wrap wing separately, stitch it on, do all this top stitching stuff. I don't know why, other than maybe to save fabric, but instead take off your seam allowance, cut that off, tape that right along seam allowance line there, and make one piece. There's no reason that that should be an extra unless you need to save the fabric somehow. I'm also going to take off an entire inch off the width. This is just me personally wanting to do that. If you look here, you can see just how wide the waist strap is on me, and I've never felt like I was short-waisted, but I just wanted this one to be a little bit less wide. So I'm trying it. For this dress, I've chosen a mid-weight quilting cotton. Got it at Michael's. It was $2 a yard, and it's so pretty. For the waist strap and the pockets, I'm going to be using this garage sale fabric that I had. I think they will look really pretty together, so I'm excited to try something different with the waist strap. I could also have use this probably for the lining. I think that would have been just fine to have used a different color. If you're interested in possibly using a binding instead of doing the full lining method, you can check out my video here where I tested a couple of different lining options that people had asked me about. If you are using the patterns layout for your pattern pieces, you need either a solid or a non-directional piece of fabric. Otherwise, you need to purchase more fabric because your pieces will be upside down if you put them in that layout. Just a reminder that your side back pieces need to be mirrored. My pieces are all cut, and the first instruction that I have, because I don't need the back tie, is to do the waist strap. I do not need to add my wing because I cut it out at the same time. If you would like to see instructions on adding the wing and sewing it just like the instructions, if you'll go to my Freddie Sew Along at minute 4:30, you can watch the complete waist wrap instructions. All right, once I get this all clipped in, I'm just going to stitch right along the top. Waist wraps are stitched, serged, turned, pressed, and a later step is going to be that we're going to do just a basting stitch right along the edge, and I've already done that so that I don't have to worry about it later. The next step is to sew your facing halves together. In the Freddie video, I will show you exactly how to follow the instructions if you needed to cut yours in 2 pieces. I cut mine on the fold, so I just press them out and my facings will be waiting until they're needed. Princess seams are next, so I'm going to start with my back pieces. The seam that goes here is the one that's going to complete this armhole, but I need to clip it in, of course, right sides together. I'm very slowly going to clip or pin this right along here. Lots of clips as you're clipping it in. Curve it. That will help a lot. If you're off somewhere when you get down to the bottom, start over, come back up. You're probably not off on cutting, you're off on your clipping it in. Your little notches should line up as long as you cut correctly. They should be very close, if not perfectly lined up. And we're going to go super slow stitching that in. Make sure that very first start is correct. Otherwise, you're just going to be off at the very beginning. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a hint at how long it takes to put in a princess seam. It's not simple. It's not fast. You need to go slow, and you need to make sure that both layers of your fabric are smooth. Otherwise, you're going to get a pucker in it. So I'm just going to, in real time, show you going around the curve on the princess seam. I'm just putting my hand underneath, making sure it's flat. Stitch a little bit, stop. If you do not have the up-down feature on your sewing machine, make sure you're using your hand wheel and putting your needle down so your fabric doesn't wiggle. All right, starting to get a little bit trickier here. And I want to do it correct from the beginning. So if that means taking an extra few seconds here, then that's what I'm going to do. Sometimes you may need to raise your presser foot up just to be able to get up under there. Once again, make sure your needle is down when you do that. I've got one little spot here. It's not wanting to cooperate. There we go, I got it. I can feel that wrinkle right there with my finger, so I've got to get it out. There it goes. Okay. Once again, I'm going to raise that presser foot up just a little bit there. And from here on out, it's a straight stitch, and I should be able to go faster. I'm just going to double check that I don't have any puckers, and then I'm going to iron it with my seam to the middle main piece. Before you clip or finish your princess seams, just lay that facing right on top and make sure that armhole matches up with the new main piece that you just created. Looking for anything that's really out of the ordinary that you need to fix before you finish that princess seam. All right, I've now clipped my seams, and I'm going to go finish them with my serger. And we're just going to stitch right on top here, as kind of as close to this line as we can get, just stitching down that seam allowance to the main piece. My top stitching is now complete. Now we're going to stitch the shoulder seams. Right now I'm just putting the lining on top of the main piece, right sides together, and I have put a lot of clips to make sure it doesn't move, and some pins right here at the corners, and I'm going to just stitch all the way around the neck. If you have neckties, don't forget to put them in. I pressed mine just to make sure that everything looks okay and that I didn't need to make any more clips or anything like that. I'm going to serge all the way around now that I know that it looks good. And then I'm going to come back and understitch. I finished mine, and then I actually pressed it from this side, pressed it flat, making sure that my seam allowance is on the side with my lining. And then I'm going to go right along this stitch line and stitch. Okay, you do not necessarily need to make the turns. Just stitch this one, stop, stitch this one. That'll make it a little bit easier. That stitching is not going to show. It's just going to keep your lining from rolling and you being able to see it from the front. My understitching is done. You can see that right there, but it doesn't show on the right side. It just shows on the wrong side. I have my lining on top here and my dress laid out underneath. Of course, it's all together at this point. Now, here's what we're going to do. It's called the burrito roll, and it's not hard at all. I folded my skirt up just to kind of help keep that out of the way. So I'm taking and just rolling here. I'm going to do this really slow. This is the lining. Taking it, and I'm flipping it over. Okay. I'm flipping it under, all the way under. So this is my lining piece. This is my lining piece. This is my dress. Lining up those shoulder seams. I'm going to go over to this armhole right here. And I'm going to go over to this armhole right here. I'm making sure that other part is tucked back in there. And that princess seam right here is going to match up with that little snip chalk marking that you marked earlier. And then as you're clipping, pinning, whatever, just curve it a little bit if you're struggling. Just remember, just go slowly. Use your finger and feel as you're sewing. Make sure there's no wrinkles up underneath and stitch it in. All right, my seam is sewn, and then we're going to clip. I'm going to take mine and serge it. Time for the magic. I'm just going to pull one side right through the shoulder seam. There it goes, untwisted. So I have one finished shoulder seam. I pressed mine just to make sure that it was all okay. It is helpful if you press it using your tailor's ham, a pillow, a rolled up towel, something, because this part of your arm is round. Your shoulder is round. And so it may look a little funny if you're trying to do it flat, but if it's round, then it sits fine, or should sit fine. If you're not sure, try it on. Make sure you did it right before you come and do the other side. Rolled up my skirt. That just less fabric hanging out everywhere. And I'm going to take my side that's already stitched here, and I'm rolling it up. And I'm just going to repeat exactly what I did on the other side. And stitch it in. Both sides are stitched, it's pressed, and it looks so good. It's coming together. You can go along and top stitch if you would like to, but that's just personal preference. If you chose to do a partial facing or a binding instead of the full facing, then you will be top stitching it most likely. If you haven't already hemmed the facing, I suggest that you do it now and then baste in the sides. It will just make it easier when you're working. All 4 of my pockets have been put in. I just matched up the notches that I had made. I stitched them in right sides together. I serged along that side right there, pressed them open to flat, and understitched them. I'm going to suggest you do a little test to see where you want your waist strap. Start by putting right sides together. You can put it where the instructions suggest, which is about 3/4 of an inch below the lining. And then instead of stitching it in, use some safety pins and pin right along that seam allowance. This is going to allow you to adjust those waist wraps to be perfect for your body and not someone else's. Oh, look how cute this is turning out. I absolutely love it. So let's talk waist strap. I just have it, the safety pinned in. This one is all the way up to the top like the instructions say. I did remove that 1 inch from my width. I just think that this is, especially if it is all flattened out, it's a little bit too high and I don't like that. If I put it up under, it makes this all squishy. So this side, I pulled it down some, and that way it can come up under and be flat on the side, which I like that better. So just play with them, see what you like. If you need to move your waist strap down away from here, you're going to get into the curve. Down, I did mine down 2 inches, and then I kind of pinned it where it should go, pinned it flat. Now I need to turn it over so I can see to cut off that excess piece. And this is going to make it easier for me to clip my sides together and sew it in. All clipped in and ready to sew. My side seam is in, and I've stitched around my pockets. Before you go off and finish your seam allowances, try it on, make sure it fits. I had to make my seam allowance a little bit bigger, but you may need to let yours out just a little bit and make it smaller. And you want to do that before you have finished your side seams. This turned out so pretty. Make sure when you're tying that your pockets are to the front and your side seam is on your side. That makes it easier to do your wrap. So is this one? Just with a different color, I wanted to show you. I hemmed mine 1/2 inch. I'm 5'4", and I'm so glad that I fixed the back pucker. Still does a little bit, but you got to move a little bit. So if I'm just standing still, that is fixed. So pretty. I am going to show you tied to the back. Front band tied in the back. I need to work on my bow, but there's that. I'm going to show you one more thing. I love the bow in the front, and I just safety pinned it so that it would stay flat and not be all floppy and weird. Back, I absolutely love it. So cute. I hope this video helped you make your Rossi dress amazing, or it inspired you to make a Rossi dress. If you'd like your dress to have sleeves, check out the Rossi Wrap Dress. It's the same pattern, just has sleeves. Thanks for watching. Join me at Threaded Journey for more full beginner sew-alongs.